From his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your week. We are at that midweek point, folks. Enjoying it, having some fun, and having a phenomenal week. I hope that you are, we are, having a great time. So God bless to each and every single one of you, and I appreciate you being a part of the broadcast. I appreciate you being a part of Wake Up Call in general on wakeupcalldt.com, where you can get all of the archives on the RSS feed, the iTunes store, the downloadable app powered by Podbean. For everybody that's with us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, where we've had a huge increase, on Twitter at CallDT, on Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. However you're interacting with us, we appreciate it, we love it, we thank you for it, and it's just, it's a blessing. It's really a blessing to reach out and try and touch the community, and then have the community respond with so much positivity, with your ears, with your eyes, with your thoughts, with your comments, and everything. So thank you so much for your positivity, and thank you for all that you do. And a big shout out, we aired one video in one place, and that was it. We aired it on Facebook and Facebook alone, and that is a video of myself and Jim Sikowski, the owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, when we went and surprised the Canteen, which is a great organization helping out kids in the community and young adults in the community, and I want to give a special thank you to them. We have had over 1,500 views of our video that's only available on Facebook. So that's just Facebook's numbers, nothing else. We want to thank everybody that's been so supportive, so wonderful, so positive. We want to send a special, special thank you to you for all that you did to make this video something special and to let the community see something so special. So much appreciation to you for that, and a big thank you to you for that. So we're more than proud to have done what we did, more than proud to have been a part of it, and we will be doing many more things with Chick-fil-A in the future here. So we just want to send a special thank you to each and every one of you that have watched the video, that were at the Canteen, that are at Chick-fil-A, obviously to Jimmer, and just it's been a ball to do things like that and to reach out to the community and have the community reach back in such an amazing and wonderful way. So thank you to each and every single one of you for all that you do. Much appreciated. So with that being said, let's hop into the morning menu.
Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We like to start off the show by giving you our menu of topics. The morning menu, that is. Live now with the morning menu is Dan Tortora.
The morning menu right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We got a lot to talk about this morning. In just a couple minutes, the man's going to be back on the show. Basketball coach and analyst Dave Paziak will be joining me to speak on the current state of the NBA playoffs, the draft lottery that was last night, which I watched live, and the NBA draft as a whole as well. We're going to get into some of your polling questions, some of the thoughts that you had on that. We're obviously going to discuss Game 2 between the Celtics and the Cavaliers. We're also going to get into that NBA draft lottery and who the number one pick went to, and so much more in the first hour of the show. This is going to be a basketball-centric show. We're keeping to the court, and we will be discussing, like I said, the draft lottery, who ended up winning this thing, how it all went down. We will also get into the NBA draft itself with Dave Paziak and NBA playoffs. The Boston Celtics up 2-0 before they head to Cleveland, Ohio to try and close this thing out. The sooner the better for those Celts, as the Cavs are back 2 games to start things off. And then he went from New Hartford, New York to Long Island Lutheran to now the Dayton Flyers. Frankie Policelli, no stranger to the show, and an amazing story. And as I've told you for the last couple of years, one of those guys that somehow, someway, Syracuse let get away. He has a story to tell, and you will hear it today at 10 a.m. Eastern Time when Frankie Policelli of New Hartford, New York, which is where the Fourth Wall Comics and Collectibles is located, which is a proud partner of Superpowered Pop, which you can check out on superpoweredpop.com. Frankie Policelli from New Hartford, New York. An hour away. That's all it is, folks. An hour away from Syracuse, New York. Just an hour away from the Carrier Dome. And when Mike Hopkins was here, they recruited him a little bit. Hadn't offered him yet. Mike went to Washington. He gets the offer. He also got offers from Iona, Stony Brook, VCU, Hofstra, Manhattan, Towson, Rhode Island, St. Bonaventure, UMass, St. Joe's, Rutgers, Old Dominion, Tulane, Cincinnati, Illinois, Maryland, George Washington, Fordham, and Texas Tech, besides Dayton and Washington. Right in the backyard of the Syracuse Orange, and he's heading off to Dayton, Ohio, where ironically the Syracuse Orange had just played in the first 4, and ironically, Alan Griffin, assistant coach of the Syracuse Orange, that's where his post was before coming back to Syracuse. So, Dayton, Ohio, which means that I'm going to have to pay a lot of attention to what's going on in good old Dayton, because Frankie Policelli, great young man, hardworking kid, a lot of fun, extremely respectable, and just, we built a relationship 2-3 years ago. And I cannot wait to share his story now that he has found a home, found a place for himself. It's going to be an extreme honor for me that Dayton in this conversation is going to be coming up in just a little bit. So, you got to support all the kids. Doesn't matter where they go. I know a lot of people, they want them to come to Syracuse. The show is based in Central and Upstate New York. Florida is our second home, so I know that people are always talking about Syracuse, or the ACC, or whatever it may be. But wherever a player goes, whatever they choose, whatever ends up happening, I'm going to support that. If they're good people in the community doing good things, keeping themselves out of trouble and working their butts off, it doesn't matter to me where they go. And Frankie Policelli is homegrown talent right here in Central and Upstate New York. And for somehow, some way, for some reason, they let him sneak past him. And Dayton could be getting a steal in this thing. I really hope they are getting a steal in this thing. Because Frankie Policelli, like I said before, good young man. So I can't wait to tell his story at 10 a.m. Eastern Time today. He will be with me. So, basketball-centric, folks. Better start dribbling. Better get ready for this. Having some fun. We'll take a step aside. You'll hear that ball dribble, and when that ball is done bouncing, and you're done hearing from some of our great partners in Central and Upstate New York, Dave Paziak will be back on the broadcast. NBA Draft Lottery, the NBA Draft as a whole, and the NBA playoffs. What's going on, LeBron? What's happening? How did Boston, without Gordon Hayward and your boy Kyrie Irving, get up 2-0 on you? Bron, what's going on? I thought that you let Game 1 just kind of go past you so you can feel it out and fizzle it out because, it's just you're not fazed by anything and it doesn't matter. And, I'm happy he's not fazed by anything. But that whole response to Game 1, man, I want to see their pace. I want to see their energy. I want to see how they do this and that. And then once I know I'm going to hit it, I'm going to get after it. I'm going to do this, that. 40 points, triple-double, doesn't matter. Why? Because Boston is a team and the Cavaliers are LeBron James. We'll take a step aside.
This is a wake-up call. Fast break.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or ice milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Clothing that will change with you without you having to change. DreissigLady.com, DREISSIG Lady.com. With the Bamboo Line Relax Fit clothing as well as the Athletic Fit clothing, DrySigLady.com is fit for any woman, any time of the day, anywhere. Whatever you're doing, whatever your day commands of you, command yourself to feel comfortable in Drysig Lady Apparel. DREISSIG Lady.com. For all the women out there, feel good in what you're wearing. And don't feel like you have to constantly change throughout the day. Whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a business owner, going for a jog, going for a meeting, or just relaxing at home, DrySigLady.com is the right fit for you. DREISSIG Lady.com.
This is Lawrence Papaleo, licensed real estate salesperson for Gilbo Realty. Call our home office at 315-752-9513, or better yet, call or text me directly at 315-748-2524.
Let me ask you a question, Lawrence. If I needed you to help me buy a house, find the right place, could you help me do that?
Joe, I'll help you find your dream home.
You don't ever say my name on the radio, never. If I needed to sell a house, could you help me go about that the right way?
Yes, I can.
How do they get a hold of you?
Call me directly at 315-748-2524.
But you also do the commercial property. So if I got a business, couple businesses, got to take one here, move it over there, do this, do that, are you going to help me buy and sell my commercial property also?
Yes, sir.
I like that. What's my name again?
I have no idea.
Absolutely, but they need to know your name, so give it one more time.
This is Lawrence Papaleo, licensed real estate salesperson for Gilbo Realty. My phone number is 315-748-2524.
Why don't you tell them your name one more time and that number so we can jot it down?
This is Lawrence Papaleo. Call me or text me directly at 315-748-2524.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Always happy to be here with you every morning, Monday through Friday, weekly, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and it is my great pleasure, honor, and privilege to have Dave Paziak back on the show. Basketball coach and analyst. He's with the Linden Hornets in Vermont, and he has been a phenomenal analyst of the game, be it high school, collegiate, any level, professional level, of course, when it comes to the sport of basketball. The game is the game is the game, and Dave knows this game inside and out, and he is here with us today to discuss a lot of different things that have been going on. The NBA draft lottery was last night, which I watched live here in my studio, and saw who got the number one pick, and once it's all said and done, it looks like no surprise, but it is a lottery. And then we will discuss the draft a little bit here as well, and we will get into the NBA playoffs with the Celtics up 2-0 against Cleveland and the Warriors up 1-0 against the Rockets at the time of conversation here on Wednesday, May 16th. And we will also discuss the Toronto Raptors, Dwayne Casey's firing, and so much more. So with that being said, we've got a jam-packed conversation coming up with this man. And Dave, how you doing today?
I'm great, Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. And Dave, first and foremost, since we were talking about it off the air, Dwayne Casey, I want to bring up a poll that I asked on Twitter here, and you could follow us at CallDT for Wake Up Call. That's CALLDT. And the poll that I had put up had the question on Dwayne Casey's firing, and it was whether or not people agreed with the firing of Dwayne Casey. And you had four options. You could strongly agree with it, strongly disagree with it, or disagree with it. And this is what we got back. 63% of you strongly disagreed with the firing of Dwayne Casey. 26% of you disagree with it. No one strongly agreed with it, and 11% agreed with it. So an overwhelming 89% of the people polled on Twitter said we are strongly or at least disagree a little bit with the firing of Dwayne Casey. The overwhelming majority not liking this decision. What did you think about it?
Well, I thought it's kind of a crazy decision. I've never been like the biggest Dwayne Casey fan, but I think he's proven that he's a solid NBA coach and took a team that was really amongst the bottom feeders and improved them on a consistent basis. They're the second best record in the league. People forget that they had a better record in Golden State this year. in the East, and he gets fired because they can't get past LeBron James. There's a lot of people. If that's the criteria for holding on to your job, then maybe Ty Lue and Eric Spoelstra are the only guys that should have jobs in the East. What's Boston going to do? Fire Stevens if Cleveland comes back and wins the series? But the rationale for firing Casey, to me, it smacked of a little bit of front office desperation, on Toronto's part. They're locked into the roster now, laid some big dollars out on some contracts, so they don't have a lot of roster flexibility. So, I think it's a little bit of, we're trying to do something to take the next step, and this is the thing that we can do. But, it's one of those things where you would think that Jerry had a pretty good idea who he's going to hire as the next head coach before letting Casey go. Because if he doesn't, it has the potential of really blowing up on them. Be careful of what you wish for. And if Toronto takes a significant backward step with a different head coach and pretty much the same roster, then I think you'll see some changes in the front office a year from now.
Well, and speaking here with Dave Pasiak of the Linden Hornets, and also an analyst that we've utilized here on Wake Up Call for years for the sport of basketball, and even outside of that, when you look at this, like you said, Dave, Dwayne Casey brought Toronto out of the basement. Toronto was a team that did some good things with Damon Stoudemire back in the mid-'90s. He was Rookie of the Year. Then obviously Vince Carter when he went up against the Philadelphia 76ers and missed that buzzer beater when he fell into the sideline and fell over the chair with that last-second fadeaway heave. We look at some of the other things that they had done getting to the playoffs and at least making a spark, but as of late and recently, this is a team that sniffed the NBA Finals and has been consistent in making the playoffs the last few seasons, but LeBron James has been the thorn in their side. I mean, you're right, as far as if they don't have the heir apparent to Dwayne Casey, this is going to be an issue because beating LeBron is a very difficult thing to do, and I don't think it's a coaching problem. I think it's a personnel problem, and I think that they've overpaid for some guys and put themselves in not the greatest of situations, but I mean, is there anybody out there that if you're a GM, would you call right now with being Toronto and needing to fill that vacancy?
Well, I mean, if you're looking for a guy that's, a proven guy, and, it's the name you hear kicked around is Budenholzer. If you believe a lot of what's been reported and some of what's on the rumor mill, it seems like he's probably a leading candidate there. And in terms of an NBA guy that's got a track record and has took Atlanta to kind of the same level that Toronto's gotten to, he would be a guy to look at. I don't know. I mean, it seems like the trend is to give the on-the-rise assistants a shot. I don't know if there's a guy out there that Toronto's really in love with that they think could, you hear Stackhouse's name kicked around a little bit. There may be a guy like that they're that they're looking at as the next guy, but I don't see like the real home run hire out there that you're not getting Phil Jackson or Pat Riley or a Hall of Fame caliber coach that is out there that's going to take that job, and as far as selling it to the fan base and everything, as far as actually producing results, I think a guy like Budenholzer is probably as good a hire as anybody they could come up with at this point.
So Budenholzer, who was most recently, as Dave said, with the Atlanta Hawks, I mean, that's a guy that you can look to. But I mean, what about the Van Gundy option? I mean, I know Stan Van Gundy has his moments. I know that he doesn't shy away from putting himself out there in the media and being a lightning rod at times. But what do you think about him?
I mean, I think he's a viable option if he's looking to jump right back into something. I think the downfall in Detroit, I mean, it has not worked out in most situations. More times than not, it doesn't work out well when the head coach is also the the chief personnel guy. Doc Rivers had his struggles with that with the Clippers. So for Van Gundy to take it and strictly be the basketball coach, he's an option if he's looking to get right back in it, and he's a guy with a name and with a track record. Is he going to significantly upgrade them from Casey? That's debatable.
And then, as we go beyond that to look at another option that could be there for the Raptors, there is the conversation on Becky Hammon and what could come of her history right now, that there's a conversation that she deserves an opportunity to get out there. What do you think about Becky Hammon? She's obviously made the news with what Greg Popovich did with putting her on the staff. What do you think about the potential there?
Well, I guess she's on Milwaukee's list of candidates. Supposedly she's one of the 10 people there either have interviewed or will be interviewing and whatnot. But I think the fact that she's a female, kind of a groundbreaking female in the NBA coaching ranks, I think that's certainly commendable. And she's got Popovich's stamp of approval, which certainly would carry a lot of weight as well. I think that if they identify her as the best candidate for the job, then I think that she should get that opportunity. The flip side of that is I don't think that being a female should be the criteria to bump her ahead of other people simply because of the story that it would create. I think she should be given every opportunity in the process, and if she emerges as the best candidate, then go for it.
Yeah, so we have Mike Budenhauser, Stan Van Gundy, Becky Hammon, Jerry Stackhouse, some names that are out there, potential names for the Toronto Raptors as they move forward, but either way, this is something that's going to, in my opinion, kind of hurt them in moving forward. They have been known to roll the dice a lot and draft a lot of international guys. And I know that there's some international guys that come through and have been good, but on the other end of it, there's a lot of them that haven't panned out for the Raptors that don't typically look within the States lately for their picks, but they don't have any picks, Dave. They gave up their 29th pick to Brooklyn in the DeMar Carroll salary dump, and they gave up their 59th pick, which would be in the second round, to Phoenix for the P.J. Tucker trade. So, thoughts on this? Toronto, in my opinion, Toronto's got to trade back into this thing. Right now, they have no picks. Your thoughts on that?
Well, they're in a little bit of purgatory right now. They probably overpaid on some contracts. DeRozan, Lowry, Ibaka, Valanciunas, whatnot, overpaid on some contracts. So, like you said, they don't have picks. They don't have a lot of cap wiggle room to be able to go out and get guys. And Toronto can be a tough free agent sell in the first place. It's not totally beyond. They won't get anybody to pick up Lowry's contract, I don't think. They may float DeRozan out there and see what he would bring in return on the open market. That might be a way to get some assets back, but they're in a little bit of roster purgatory, though. And the problem with dealing DeRozan is, and I think DeRozan probably played a bigger role in Casey's dismissal than has been talked about, just with the fact that Casey may have sealed his fate a little bit when he didn't play DeRozan down the stretch in Game 3 and 4 in the last series. But if they dangled DeRozan and got a great package for him, maybe from a team that is trying to shift into win now mode, that may be one way to get assets. But the thing that if they go that route, then they're going to take a significant step back. Like I heard on the radio a couple days ago, the play-by-play voice for the Raptors was on there, and he made a great point. He said at some point the LeBron window is going to close, and Toronto has done his expression was they've kept themselves at the front of the line, which I thought was a really good way of looking at it. they've kept themselves right there, so that at some point LeBron leaves Cleveland and goes to the West, or he starts to decline, or whatever the case may be. Toronto has put themselves in a position where they're right there to seize that opportunity if and when it should come up. The problem for them is that window is closing a little bit, and you got teams on the rise in the East. Boston's got a great young roster. Philly's got a great young roster. And they both have draft picks coming up, so those rosters are going to get better. You look at Indiana, I think, is another team with a good, young, talented roster. Milwaukee, if they made a couple of moves and add a part or two, has potential to kind of reach that next echelon of teams. So the East is, Toronto's window to be like that next team in line is closing. So they're in a really, really precarious situation as far as what direction they want to go in.
That coming from Dave Paziak, basketball coach and analyst. You kind of echoed something that I had said earlier on here on the show this week, which was about the fact, and last week too, the overpayment of some players. Kyle Lowry, your highest paid player on the Toronto team should be DeMar DeRozan if it's going to be anybody, and somehow Lowry's making money that I said makes him look like Steph Curry on paper, and there could not be more of a there's a substantial divide between the two of them, so they need to make changes for sure. Moving on here, and we spoke on the draft a little bit with the fact that Toronto doesn't have any picks. The lottery happened, Dave. I'm sure that you were watching it. I was watching it live. Phoenix got the number 1 pick, Sacramento the 2, Atlanta the 3, then Memphis, Dallas, Orlando, Chicago, Cleveland, because the rich get richer. They got that from Brooklyn. The New York Knicks have the 9th pick because they're in purgatory, and they've been there for a while. Philly's got the 10th, then Charlotte. Then the Clippers have the 12th and 13th. Back-to-back picks, one of them coming from Detroit, and Denver has the 14th pick. And then we move on from there with the way that things had shaped out. But Phoenix is going to take the first pick. If they don't trade it, I believe this is the first time that they'll ever pick first outright. What do you think about how the lottery shaped out? And then secondarily, I asked if you were the Phoenix Suns, who would you draft? And we already got some answers, hints, pretty substantial here. DeAndre Ayton, they have 54%. Marvin Bagley, the third, 14%. And Luka Doncic, we have 31% for him. So what do you think about how the lottery shaped out? And if you were Phoenix, where would you go?
Well, as far as how the lottery shaped out, I think all the NBA conspiracy theorists that, for years think the lottery's rigged. I'm sure the NBA didn't set it up to have Phoenix, Sacramento, and Atlanta as the last 3 teams standing, so I think you can put those theories to bed for good after that. Anyways, Phoenix, I think Phoenix is an interesting place because they've got, Booker, I think, is one of the really good young talents in the league, and they've got some guys, Josh Jackson and some guys that could emerge to to be really impactful players in the league. And if they can hit a home run with this pick, I think Phoenix is a team that you could see them take a pretty significant step forward in the next couple of years, and be that team out west that kind of equates to the the Philly and the Boston in the East, where they've accumulated some good young talent, and as they come together, they become a pretty formidable team to deal with. Doncic is probably the most NBA ready and probably the best player in the draft to have to make a short to medium term impact. But I mean, they could go a bunch of different ways with that, and there's it's also been floated out there that they could deal the pick for to accumulate more assets. I think that would be a tough sell and a tough move to make. Because if they deal the pick and the pick turns into an elite level player, it's going to be really, really difficult for them to, them to explain that away to their fan base and everything. But I think it's a great opportunity for them because, like I said, if they hit a home run and come up with the right pick, they made a really interesting, coaching hire with Koskisov, believes it seems like that would be the direction that they may go. But DeAndre Ayton would be an interesting pick also because he's an Arizona guy. So, I think, if you're a fan of the Suns and that basketball community and everything, I think it's a really exciting time there because, the window's opening for them to really make a big jump forward and become a serious player in the NBA.
That coming from Dave Pasiak, basketball coach and analyst here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to be here with you this morning discussing the NBA and what's going on. Before we take a step aside and then jump into the playoffs, Dave, to look at the Philadelphia 76ers, we're used to them being in these top 10 picks, and they're in there. They're number 10, but they have 6 picks this year in the 2018 NBA draft. They have the 10th, the 26th, and then in the second round, they have the 38th, the 39th, the 56th, and the final pick of the draft, 60th. So Philadelphia can shop around, bounce around, do what they need to do, but they have plenty of picks coming up here. What are your thoughts on, Philadelphia still having the opportunity to stack up on talent? People want to disregard the second round, but there's only 60 players drafted. And even though there's not guaranteed money in the second round, you have thousands of players from all over the country and outside of the country in this thing. So the opportunity to scout well and make good decisions, Philadelphia could make out with 4 picks in the second round. So first and foremost, Philadelphia's draft this year, knowing that they have 6 picks and 4 of those in the second round. And then secondly, I know they lost. I know they didn't really hold on too well against Boston, but is this a team of the future to you?
Well, I hope so, as a long-suffering Sixers fan. I think if you would have said at the beginning of the year that Philly's going to get to the conference finals and have the third-best record in the East, coming off what's going on there the last 5 years or so, I think anybody in the organization and Sixer fans would have signed on for that in a heartbeat. So I think there's no question that, they've got a great young core, and some of their flaws were exposed a little bit against Boston. I think it'd be interesting to see what they do. It's going to be hard for them to bring back guys like Redick and Bellinelli and Ilyasova and whatnot. So I think they've got to add some perimeter shooting, and ideally perimeter shooting that's a little bit more versatile than those guys. They're a team through the whole process thing. There was a lot of guys in and out of Philly, and some of them probably didn't belong in the league and wouldn't have stuck in a bunch of places. But they did kind of uncover a couple of NBA viable players, guys like McConnell and Covington and whatnot. So I'm hopeful that they're not gonna hit with 4 second-round picks, but you hope quantity of picks, and you hope that they hit on 1 or 2 that become impact guys. But I think they're a team, if they can add some perimeter shooting, perimeter scoring that's also long enough and versatile enough to match up with Boston's young wing players in the years to come. I think they're certainly on the right trajectory. The other fascinating thing out there is you hear Philly as a destination for LeBron. So, do they shift to more of a go for it now mentality and maybe package some of those picks that they still have stockpiled, or one of their young talents to try to add LeBron and maybe another high-level free agent to the mix, because they do it, and they've got a bundle of cap space to work with too. So I think it'll be interesting to see, if they stay the course with the young talent, or if they try to add that LeBron James, Paul George type impactful, take you to the next level now free agent. So, but certainly like where they're headed, and it'll be nice to have that Sixers Celtics rivalry is shaping up over the next few years to be something meaningful potentially. So.
That coming from Dave Pasiak, basketball coach for the Linden Hornets in Vermont, and also basketball analyst as well as we look at what the future could be for LeBron James in a different uniform and where we go from here. We're going to discuss LeBron and so much more right after this quick, fast break. We'll be back with you to discuss Boston up 2-0 on Cleveland, and then if anybody can beat Golden State in just a moment.
This is a wake-up call, fast break.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Hi, this is Domenico Vitali, owner of Giovanni's Formal Wear, where you look great and feel even better with our renowned tailoring and alteration services on any suit or any tuxedo from anywhere. Call 315-455-8729. That's 315-455-8729. Stop in locally on Route 11 in North Syracuse, next to the Ponderosa Plaza, where you can choose your style, get fitted, and tailored, all at Giovanni's Formal Wear.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
For all of us that have always wanted our favorite restaurant to come to us, it's now a reality in Central New York with It's a Utica Thing, with Utica Pizza Company bringing their wonderful recipes that they've handed down through generations to you, to your event, to your business, to your home. It's a Utica Thing, proudly bringing Utica Pizza Company on wheels to your location. Call 315-738-8946. That's 315-738-8946 to bring Utica Pizza Company to your doorstep with It's a Utica Thing.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to have you with us here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we thank you for being here today on Wednesday, May 16th of the great year 2018. We are discussing the NBA draft lottery, NBA playoffs, a little bit of everything with Dave Paziak, Linden Hornets head coach out of Vermont, and a basketball analyst that we've been more than proud to have on the show for many years. And with that being said, we continue the conversation with Dave. We open it up to his thoughts on the Cavaliers and the Celtics 2 games in. You've heard my thoughts, folks, as we've gone through this series early, and now that we've stepped into this morning, LeBron James, 42 points in 39 minutes, 29 shots he took, made 16 of them, made 5 of 11 of his three-pointers, and added 10 rebounds and 12 assists. Did have 6 turnovers, so he's had a little bit of a turnover problem lately in these last couple games, but 42 points in 39 minutes, a triple-double, and the team loses because besides him and Kevin Love, who accounted for 66 points, the rest of the team really didn't get much of anything except for Korver, who was able to get to double digits with 11 points off the bench. So, thoughts on the Cavs down 2 games to Boston as they head to Cleveland, Dave? What are your? I know that you're a LeBron fan, and I know you got a lot of respect for him. What do you think about his position in this series?
Well, I mean, he showed up and Love showed up last night. Their role players were awful. Korver got it going in the first half, but then I think Boston did a better job of staying home on him in the second half, so that limited what he could do. But I mean, J.R. Smith was embarrassing last night. I mean, it was. I don't remember what I think the final stat was something like 41-3. Boston starting guards outscored Cleveland starting guards last night. It was something along those lines. I mean, George Hill was missing action, and J.R. Smith was a negative. I mean, the game, Cleveland had got it back to 6 points late, and I think Boston scored, and so it was like an 8-point game with time to play. But it's the play where J.R. shoved Horford in the back. One is it was just a dirty punk play, but the other thing is it just completely. Boston probably still holds on to win the game, but it completely took away any chance Cleveland had of stealing that game last night. And that said, role players always, in the NBA, I think more than any other sport historically, role players more times than not play much better at home than they do on the road. And that's true with Boston. I mean, Boston hasn't lost at home this year, and they're 1-4 on the road in the playoffs. So when it goes back to Cleveland, you would expect some of the supporting cast guys, whether it's JR, whether it's Tristan Thompson, which I just don't understand why Lou took him out of the rotation again in game 1. But I think he just they need him on the floor. I think part of the reason Love had an effective game last night was the fact that they had Tristan Thompson on the floor for longer stretches, which kind of puts Love in a more favorable matchup. But the thing I didn't like about Cleveland is the way they finished the game. Their defensive effort in the second half was really poor last night, and one of the things that didn't get talked about in that game, I think as much as it could have or should have, is Cleveland kind of had things going their way in the first half, and they got the ball back up 9. I think Boston scored to get it back to single digits. Cleveland gets the ball back up 9, and threw it away. Boston scores again, and Cleveland really didn't get a very good shot on their last possession of the first half. So I tweeted this out last night. I think I said if Boston comes back to win, that's going to be the under recognized turning point, because there was kind of a big momentum shift at halftime with Boston coming in feeling good about themselves and cutting it to 7 instead of. Cleveland should have gone into halftime with minimally a 9-point lead, maybe an 11 or 12-point lead, and so I thought that was a really big turning point. And in the second half, in the third quarter, when Boston took control of the game, they run good stuff on offense. I'll grant you that, but they didn't even have to run much. They got wide open looks and lanes to the basket, wide open threes, really easily against Cleveland. I thought they had a really complete defensive breakdown in the third quarter. And that said, it was still, like I said, 6-point game late until JR's antics. But from the point of JR's antics, it seemed like that really deflated Cleveland, and the way they finished that game in terms of lack of energy and some bad body language and all that. That's a little pause for concern, but also, they don't play again until Saturday, so I mean they got a couple days to try to right the ship. And Boston held serve. At the end of the day, Boston won the 2 home games. Now Cleveland goes back and wins the 2 home games. We're having a different conversation a week from now. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of turn things around a little bit.
Yeah, looking at this series and kind of how it's gone, I mean, LeBron James, when he was with Miami, you look at the role players that he had there. I mean, he had Dwayne Wade and he had Chris Bosh, but you look at what he had around him as well, some of those guys like the Mike Millers and whatnots of the world. Do you feel that the role players on this team are, don't even hold a candle to it? I mean, how much do you put on the role players? Because, I mean, I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan of there's that superstar guy and then, almost everybody else is a role player. That's why I like Boston's makeup more, and that's why I feel like they're more of a fun team to watch. But what do you think about LeBron's kind of supporting cast? And like I've said, if it's a movie, he's Denzel Washington and everybody else is a relative unknown. Maybe Kevin Love is Kevin Hart or something like that. I don't know. But when you look at the Cavaliers, do you like this setup? Because for me, I'm not surprised when there's not a ton of help coming. I mean, not that these guys aren't capable, but I just, it's not Miami to me, and it's not close.
No, I agree with you. I mean, when he was in Miami, you had the Ray Allens, it was like a really high-level specialist. You had you had guys like Haslam who were really like glue guys that kind of kept the locker room together. And of course you had Wade, who's an all-time great player. In Cleveland, the other thing you forget about Cleveland is they retooled the roster midstream this year too. So, in that sense, them even being at this point, I think, is somewhat praiseworthy. But outside of LeBron and Love, it seems like a team, and I don't know if this is Ty Lue or just a function of the roster turnover, on the fly. But they feel like a team that just hasn't really latched on to an identity or a rotation, and guys haven't really, when they first made the move, it looked like, the young energy with the Clarksons and the Hoods and the Nances, they were going to provide them with a boost of energy. Remember how impressive that team looked the first few games that those guys played with them. I think they blew out Boston during that stretch. But, but then it seems like as we came down the stretch and everything, Ty Lue kind of settled into, the guys he's comfortable with or have done it with him before, the J.R. Smiths of the world, and Korver and George Hill, some of the veteran guys. So I think that it's a funny thing. Like I said, the whole narrative could change next game. Playing at home and somebody steps up, whether it's Thompson or Clarkson or Korver or whoever the case may be. They step up and have a big game, and again, we're having a different conversation in a week. But I think the supporting cast is probably, it's not as good as what LeBron's had around him. Probably since it's much better than the supporting cast he had his first go round in Cleveland when he took that team to the finals. But it was a different league at that time too. But it's probably not as bad as like the narrative paints it to be at some points in time. But it's not as good as what he's had in his his earlier years in Cleveland or the time in Miami either.
That comment from Dave Pazak. Dave, before we settle up here with the first hour of the show, the other side of it, the Warriors and the Rockets, we talked off the air about this a little bit, how I think the Golden State Warriors, no matter who they're playing right now, are a very dangerous team. If they are to get out of this and they face Boston or Cleveland, I feel I would lean on the side of Golden State as far as what they're capable of doing. I still go back to that New Orleans Pelicans series and say that the New Orleans Pelicans have a bunch of offense, a bunch of talent, but Golden State, when it's a shootout, they're going to win this thing. When it's a shootout, the guy on the other side's dropping when both guns are drawn. So what do you think about this series? I know that at the time we're talking, we're only one game in. Houston, like Toronto, number 1 seed. It wasn't Cleveland. It wasn't Golden State, not Boston. Houston got the number 1 in the West. But now they are going up against the Golden State Warriors, who have a ton of talent between Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, who doesn't age, Draymond Green, who's not big on scoring but does the other things and is kind of that Rodman-type player. What do you think about this series and where this series can go, knowing that you have your James Harden, who, like LeBron, can score in the 40s, and you got Chris Paul, who is one of the best point guards in the nation? I think anybody would agree with that, with 23 points in this game most recently. Where do you see this going when it comes to Houston trying to battle up against a team that seems to dictate a lot in the here and now?
Well, Houston, everything they did and the moves they made and kind of the roster they put together, it's all been done kind of with an eye on being able to take down Golden State. And, they got them 2 out of 3 in the regular season, and they ended up with the best record in the league. But the thing with Golden State is they've got a margin for error and a margin for one of their star players not necessarily being at the top of his game and still being able to compete at a high level and to win. That's the big thing with them. They have a margin for error that other teams in the league don't have, including Houston, including Cleveland, including Boston, including Toronto, any of the other high-level teams in the league. They've got, they don't have to have a huge game from Curry to win. They don't have to have a huge game from Durant to win, or Thompson, or whatever. We talked about Cleveland. They got a huge game from LeBron and a big game out of Love, and he still got beat last night. So Golden State has that margin for error. And the other thing, because they put so many weapons on the floor, Curry's really not a very good defender, and he's a guy who gambles for steals and takes a lot of chances, but he's not a particularly good individual defender. But because the rest of their lineup is so good, it affords them that luxury. Houston, I thought, really almost to the point of overkill, really tried to attack Curry the other night, and they had success with it. Harden dropped a boatload of points, but Golden State, I think, has the ability to compensate for those things better than any team we've seen in a long time.
And when you look at this kind of moving forward here, we did have a question that came up here, and I want to get to that really quick. Came from one of our listeners, asked if Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins, if he was available, if we had DeMarcus Cousins out there for the Pelicans, do you think it would have changed anything about this series with Golden State?
Well, it's a totally different game. Like when New Orleans lost Cousins, they changed their identity a little bit, quite a bit actually, and they became like one of the quickest pace teams in the NBA. Like they played at a pace probably equal to or maybe even greater than what Golden State was playing at. The problem is when you try to play that way against Golden State, it plays right into their strengths. The free-flowing up and down game. Now with Cousins, it's a different game because they become more inside oriented. I think it would have been an interesting series. I don't know that the result would have been a whole lot different, but it would have been, from a contrast standpoint, it would have been very interesting because playing Cousins and Davis together, it would have been one of those who blinks first things. On the one hand, playing Cousins and Davis together puts New Orleans in a situation where how do they guard Golden State's small ball lineup? On the other hand, if they're having effect, if they're being effective with that lineup, and scoring around the basket pretty easily and controlling the glass and those kinds of things, then would Golden State blink first and make an adjustment to their rotation to be able to play a little bigger and match up with Cousins and Davis at the same time. So I think it would have been fascinating. I think New Orleans would have played at a different tempo than what they did play at. And, at the end of the day, I don't know that it would have changed the results, but I think it would have been kind of a fascinating series to see it unfold.
Yeah, we got the question, do we think Cousins will stay in New Orleans? And it's funny how social media plays into things so much now, but there's the conversation that he's unfollowed the New Orleans Pelicans on Instagram and yada, yada, yada. So what do you think about this? Do you think that he sticks around New Orleans, or are you vibing that he's going somewhere else?
Well, it kind of depends what's out there and, what other opportunities there are for him. I mean, I think he certainly thrived next to Davis, and they're an interesting pair. The flip side of that is, does a team like Boston, for example, do they try to package some of their young talent and make a play for Anthony Davis? Could that happen? So, I think before Cousins got hurt, I think it was probably a foregone conclusion that New Orleans is going to try to do whatever they can to keep him there. But after he got hurt and how they played after he got hurt, how much do they want to invest in him? Do you want to throw huge dollars at him for a long term? Then run the risk of being in salary cap purgatory, kind of like what's going on in Toronto. So I think those are decisions that New Orleans, I think, is really going to have to think through in the offseason.
Yeah. And ultimately, and then another question we got was, or do you think that he follows LeBron? And I think that's viable depending on where LeBron goes, if it makes sense. I mean, if I'm LeBron and I go to Philadelphia and I got Ben Simmons with me and I can make that happen, then I think that's definitely, and Joel Embiid and whatnot. I think in all honesty, if LeBron goes to Philly and his kind of swan song is to essentially, try and open this game up and open opportunities up for a young team that's been in the basement for a while, I would love to see that. Honestly, I think it would be fun to see something like that. But, with DeMarcus Cousins, it's the attitude, too, that you're getting if you're getting DeMarcus Cousins, and that's something that you have to look at. People forget about locker rooms and how a locker room is going to be. I think that the locker room of the Raptors lacks somebody who's going to corral the team and create some leadership. I think Dwayne Casey paid for that, but I think that they have to look inward to the team as they move forward. So either way, whatever happens, I could see DeMarcus following LeBron if the cap would allow him to do so, but I think there's going to be some shakeup. I think there needs to be, and I think, Dave, in conclusion, you and I can agree that Kyle Lowry makes way more money than we would have paid him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a large part of he's got an unmovable contract, and I'll credit Lowry in this sense that he took a step back in his game and it was always 1A and 1B there with him and DeRozan, and this year he allowed DeRozan to be 1 and him to be 2, and I think that really played in Toronto's favor during the regular season. The problem they have, like right now, though, with his contract, he's grossly overpaid, and I can't believe they'll find anybody else in the league to take his contract off their hands.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and we actually just had somebody write in that Kyle Lowry should make their salary instead, so kind of interesting there. But with that being said, Dave, we've opened up to the doors to a lot of things. We got Game 2 tonight with the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors. We'll be excited to see what happens from there. If this is a 1-1, then we got something big time to talk about as this team heads over to the West Coast, and we'll have to take it from there. If not, Golden State with a commanding lead going home is a danger zone for any team. And of course, as always, I appreciate you being on the show and for everything that you bring to it. I always feel like as much as we talk about, we have so much more on the slate, but that's why we like having you back, so I appreciate it.
Well, pleasure to talk with you as always, Dan.
All right, take care, Dave. I'll talk with you soon.
Talk with you soon.
All right, take care. Bye. That coming from Dave Paziak, and we will take a quick step aside. We got to get Frankie Policelli here with you, and you got to listen into this. This is going to be an amazing, amazing conversation with a great kid in the backyard of upstate and central New York who's heading off to Dayton to do some amazing things, in my opinion. Frankie Policelli coming up after this. Don't miss it. New Hartford, New York, upstate New York, right there where the Fourth Wall Comics and Collectibles is, which is our partner of Superpowered Pop with Dan Tortora, our entertainment show, located on superpoweredpop.com. And you can send it a follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Superpowered Pop. So make sure you check it out. We'll take a fast break and come back with Frankie Policelli and his amazing story coming from upstate New York, heading to Long Island, and now finding himself with a Division I men's basketball opportunity after having 19 offers out of upstate New York. We'll talk to him in just a moment.
This is a wake-up call, Fast Break.
Gear up with the real deal at Dreisig Apparel, creating what people are going to see and learn about you before they even meet you. Gear up for what you need for your team, business, or event. To look professional, look good, and feel good, outfit yourself at DreisigApparel.com. That's DREISSIG Apparel.com. The only place to gear up with the real deal. What's the universal language of a fan? Clapping your hands. With Fan Hands, the ultimate sports fan accessory, find your team color, slip them on, and start cheering on your favorite team with 11 different colors, always in stock on fanhands.com, where you'll find the ultimate sports fan accessory. Real fans wear Fan Hands.
Utica Pizza Company spells family. Your family, my family, their family. The recipes that they have shared with each other throughout the years and have now been so gracious to share them with us. I can sit here and talk with you about all the great things that are on the menu. We'd be here forever. So let me say this. Utica Pizza Company is second to none. And now you can bring it home with you and you can dine in the restaurant. UticaPizzaCompany.com will give you all the information that you need. And let me say, these Utica greens, they're the best. Utica Pizza Company. Call them and place your order at 315-214-3060. That's 315-214-3060. Families break bread at Utica Pizza Company.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We're proud to be here with you every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And these are the moments, okay, there's over 1,000 people that have been guests on this show. I've lost track, and I love the fact that when people say, you know, who's been on the show, you know, name some people. There's people from all over the country. There's people from out of the country. But everybody had a story to tell. And no matter what school that they were a part of or team or sport, whatever it may be, everybody has a unique story. And there's nobody that should be silenced. And everybody should be able to tell it. One of the stories that I've loved to tell over the last couple of years, I feel like at this point it's been like 3 years, and that's insane to me that time has flown by. But Frankie Policelli's been one of those stories. And Frankie is somebody who, when I met him, he had short hair, then he got massive hair, and then he grew, and then he gained weight, and now he's a bigger person, and it's crazy. So it's like you see the person physically grow before your eyes. And if I had the hair that Frankie had, it would drive me nuts. I got to have short hair all the time. I don't know what it is. I just got to do it. But, you know, Frankie, from growing physically in front of you to growing as a young man to the work that he did with AAU, with the New York Jayhawks, and now having a laundry list of teams that wanted him to come play for them. And he's right here in upstate New York, right in New Hartford. And you know, right... I mean, for people that know Superpowered Pop, my other show to Wake Up Call, I have the blessing of working with the Fourth Wall Comics and Collectibles, which is 41 New Hartford Center in New Hartford, New York. So right there where that is, you know, Frankie was around the corner, so to speak, from this. So to have him in upstate New York and to see all the offers that he got, to know that he's landed somewhere and that he has a home, like I said, so many stories have been told on the show. This is one of my favorites. Frankie Policelli, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. And what did you think about that I talked about your big hair?
I loved it. I kind of missed it now.
Yeah, I know. It's like you had like a little bit, then you had a lot of bit, and now it's a little bit again. I mean, what's going on? I mean, is this just kind of, feeling out what you like, what you don't like? Is it flavor of the year type of thing? What's going on with the hair situation?
It depends on how I'm feeling, So, like, when I first met you, I wanted some short hair, and I grew it out. And now I'm actually growing it out again, so I might get the dreads again.
So we might be seeing Frankie Policelli with dreads. And here's a little known fact about me, Frankie. I'm Italian and Hispanic. My hair grows extremely fast, but I for some reason in my life, I wanted to have dreadlocks. So I don't know what it is, Frankie. I have short hair. I love short hair, but you can pull it off. I don't know if I can pull it off, but you can pull it off. And if you're going, so is this the thing now? Is when you cut the dreads off, do you miss them so much that you bring them back? Because this is going to be, how many times have you brought the dreads back?
I only had it one time, but I've been thinking about it a lot recently, so I might have to bring them out again.
I think I got to live vicariously through you. You got to bring the dreads back. You got to make it happen.
All right, I will.
Now, Frankie Policelli, I'm going to read off because this is fun for me because I'm proud of this young man. Dayton, Washington, Iona, Stony Brook, VCU, Hofstra, Manhattan, Towson, St. Bonaventure, Rhode Island, UMass, St. Joe's, Rutgers, Old Dominion, Tulane, George Washington, Fordham, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Illinois, and Maryland. For those of you that are playing the home game, that's a whole lot of teams. That is, I believe, right around 20 teams that had offered Frankie Policelli. So if you look at the NCAA tournament, there's 68 teams, so almost a third of that, we look at that being the offers that Frankie had. Frankie, when you and I spoke, you were bringing in a few, you had some offers coming through. Just bring me into how everything blew up and when everything blew up.
Well, I met you right after my sophomore year. So then I had 5 offers maybe. And then my junior year, I played with the Jayhawks again. I had a really good spring. And then my phone just started to go off the hook. It just started to go crazy. And then when I came to Lehigh, it started blowing up again. So in those 2 years, it just blew up.
And when we did talk, you had a bunch of offers, and I know that you had Iona. That wasn't Iona your first one?
Yep.
So yeah, you had Iona and Stony Brook, and I think Hofstra, and around VCU and whatnot. So when I had met you a few years back, and you had just a few coming through early on. What did it mean to you? Because I know everybody says the first offer is special because it's the first team that believed in you. I know you're not going to Iona, but when you think about Iona, what can you say about your appreciation that after they said you were good enough to play for them, you had a bunch of teams, more than a dozen teams, follow in tow after that?
It means a lot, because they're a really good program. They make the tournament pretty much every year. They're very productive in their league. So I was actually more humbled than anything. I remember when I got the phone call, I didn't believe it. I was wow, I'm actually gonna have the chance to go to Division I. So I was extremely humbled to get it.
And to have that opportunity that came through, I mean, you and I spent a lot of time speaking on that when all these other ones started to flow through. Like you said, you had your first 5, and then eventually the floodgates open. Can you pinpoint the time where the floodgates open? Was there a certain game or string of games or tournament or something with the AAU? What do you feel opened up the floodgates bigger than anything else?
Well, I had a good spring my junior year, so then I got a lot of interest. And then I went to the Pingos All-American camp, and I had a pretty good camp. I picked up, I think, like 3 or 4 offers in like 3 days. And then once I made the switch to Long Island Lutheran, like schools realized that like I was the Blue Highs are like a powerhouse, I guess, in the Northeast. So as a basketball standpoint, they started to understand that I would get stronger and I would go against like extremely talented kids every single day, so I would only have to get better. And then we played in a couple like big time tournaments, like the SNY Invitational, the Beach Ball Classic. So I played pretty good in those, and the coaches just started to take notice.
And when you have that, like you said, the move to Long Island Lutheran, I want to go back before that to your time in New Hartford. What did you take away from New Hartford? What did it teach you? How did it make you a better man, a better player before you went off to Long Island Lutheran? What can you say about New Hartford?
New Hartford it's a big reason as to why I'm the man I am today, because I was taught how to be humble and never to like get a big head or anything, because it's a small town, so like a lot of people know you, and so like when I transferred schools, I just wanted to make everyone back home proud of me. So I tried my best to just work hard on and off the court and try to make New Hartford happy.
And when you go back to, I mean, do you know the New Hartford Shopping Center? When I was mentioning the fourth wall and whatnot, like right over the train tracks thing, do you know that kind of strip mall area? Did you ever go out there?
Yeah. I know exactly where that is.
So what was your favorite thing to do in New Hartford? Bring me back to those days.
I would just hang out with my friends, honestly, and just like go to the park or play video games and just relax.
Best video game that you have ever played, in your opinion?
All the 2Ks.
All the 2Ks. What team are you usually when you're playing 2K?
The Celtics.
And so I'm guessing the Celtics are your favorite team?
Yes, of course.
Okay, fair enough. So I got to take a little break from your story to go into this a little bit. Jason Tatum. I got to interview the young man when he played for Duke. He spent one season there and then moved on to the Celtics. They drafted him high. What can you say about his game? Obviously, the Celtics are still alive. They're in the Final Four of the NBA playoffs. What do you like about Jason Tatum?
I like everything about his game. Because he's like just like a killer on the court. You know, the way how he shoots, the way how he's smooth with the ball. Like he's very versatile. I try to take things from his game. Just because we're like the same body type, I guess, and like he's been very successful. So he's a really good ball player.
And the Boston Celtics, now I had said this before the season. I actually said it at the end of last season for the NBA. I said, within the next couple of years here, I think we're going to see Boston as the team that has the best chance to dethrone Cleveland on the Eastern side of things. And so before the season even started, before Kyrie Irving came over and having the thought of, Gordon Hayward down the road, whatever, I just said, when it comes to Boston, I have this belief that they could be the team to dethrone the Cavaliers. I said that before any of the games were played. Now that the games have been played and we are where we are, do you believe, I know they're your favorite team, so I know it's hard, but impartially, try to look at this as impartial as you can, do you think that Boston has what it takes to take down King James?
I think so. They're pretty balanced right now. They have like 3 or 4 really good ball players, and they're two-way players, so the offense and defense. So I think that they will outlast the Cavaliers just because LeBron's pretty much like a one-man team right now. So I'm going with the Celtics.
And we're speaking here with Frankie Policelli, who is heading to Dayton here for the 2018-19 season to start things off in his collegiate career. The Celtics, I brought up the fact that they have not been able to lean on people that you would think that they would be leaning on, those names being Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving. We spoke on Jason Tatum and whatnot. Terry Rozier, another guy that I covered from Louisville, and had one of the coolest things in his hair is that he had them cut in a little swirl in the front. We were speaking about hair before. But Terry Rozier is he's one of those guys that I feel like flew under the radar. I think a lot of people expected him to be the second highest scorer on the team behind Jason Tatum by only 0.6 points. And not only is Terry a good scorer, but Terry also has about 6 assists per game, and he seems to like to stir the pot when he called Eric Bledsoe Drew Bledsoe. What do you think about Terry Rozier, Frankie Policelli? What do you think about him?
I love his game. He's just a dog. So, I mean, he's not going to back down for anyone. And that's what you need on a team that's going to try to win chips. Like, you need someone like that on your team. And because they're like a spark for any team. So that's just really good to have.
And we look at the guys that are on this team, you know, it's names that people don't necessarily think of, you know, household. Jaylen Brown, who's from California, Marcus Morris, who's part of the Twins that played under Bill Self in Kansas. You know, you have Marcus Smart, who came out of Oklahoma State. Shane Larkin, another guy that I interviewed, came out of Miami. Semi Ojeleye, who came out of SMU. When you look at this roster, are you surprised, Frankie, when you see that this team, this Boston Celtics team, without the quote-unquote superstars, the Kyrie Irvings, the Isaiah Thomases, and the Gordon Haywards, are you surprised that they got this far?
Just a little bit. But then, like, if you just sit back and just think about it, like, since we're not really superstars yet, they all have something to prove. So that's why they play so hard and together, because the one thing that they all care about is winning. So, like, you know, they're not really concerned about who gets the credit for this and who gets the credit for that. They just want to win.
And Isaiah Thomas, I know you're a Celtics fan. Do you miss Isaiah Thomas? Now, and let me preface this. I liked Isaiah. I wanted to see him win a championship with Boston. But my aunt is a massive Boston fan. Massive Boston. She lives in Massachusetts. My Aunt Donna, shout out to you. And she had said to me that, you know, people were talking about how he had made the statement, Isaiah Thomas, that when he wanted to get a new contract, he said, you better back up the Brink truck. And that obviously made people a little bit not happy. So what did you think about the personality of Isaiah Thomas, and do you miss Isaiah Thomas?
Like, obviously I miss him because he was just fun to watch. But I think the team is gelling more without him. So it's like a bittersweet question, I guess.
So, yeah, they're doing better without him. But no Kyrie Irving, no Gordon Hayward. What's that doing for you? I mean, your team's still playing, but obviously you want to see these guys play as well. So what's that been like for you as a fan to, A, know that the team's playing well without him, and B, obviously you want to see those guys on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough not having them on the court, but it's also very promising for the Celtics because they're playing so well without two extremely good players. So you can only imagine what's going to happen next year when they come back.
Absolutely. Speaking here with Frankie Policelli, coming in 2018-19 to the Dayton Flyers. Frankie, a bunch of these teams all over, all different conferences, Division I. For you, who was the team or the teams that were hardest for you to say no to?
I mean, they were all pretty hard. But I mean, I chose Dayton, so I mean, it was hard because I had a lot of schools texting me at one point. I just can't like pinpoint one school.
And when we look at the Atlantic 10, which is obviously more than 10 teams now. There's more than 10 in the Atlantic 10. That's the funny part of conferences that went by numbers with realignment and everything. You're going to be at Dayton, Rhode Island, who offered you, St. Bonnie's, who offered you, St. Joe's, VCU. So you got 4 right there. Then you add a 5th in George Washington, a 6th in UMass, and a 7th in Fordham. You got the majority, of this Atlantic 10 that wanted you to play for them. You count in Dayton, and there's 8. So when you look at that and look at the fact that this conference really, really, they wanted you and somebody was going to get you. Out of the 14 teams in the Atlantic 10, more than half of them offered you. You get to play all those teams every single season. What's that going to be like for you going up against other teams that recruited you?
I haven't really even thought about it like that, but it's going to be fun. Because I know that they know all my games like to a T, so that means that I just got to adapt because obviously they know how I play and what's my weaknesses, so I'm just going to have to adapt and try to do as best as I can.
The Dayton Flyers play, obviously, at the University of Dayton Arena, and that arena is going through some enhancements. I was down at the arena for the first 4. That's where the first 4 is every season on the NCAA tournament on the men's Division I side. So, people get to see that stage all the time. What does that mean to you? Obviously, you want Dayton to be in the tournament while you're there, and you want to be playing in the tournament, but to know that the tournament comes to Dayton, too, just what that dynamic is like for you, knowing that there's people from all over the country and in and out of the world that come to Dayton, Ohio every year for the tournament.
It's actually really amazing to think about it. Out of all the arenas they play at, they play at the Dayton Arena every single year. So that just puts emphasis on how strong the basketball community is up in Dayton. That they keep coming back year after year. It's a great basketball region in the United States.
And to look at, you and I talked about this a little bit off the air, but Dayton is that team that is always there. They're right on the cusp. They're that team that almost makes the NCAA tournament or makes the NCAA tournament. They've gone up against Syracuse and won. Syracuse had Alan Griffin, who was on the team and then was a grad assistant, and then ended up in Dayton as an assistant coach, went up against Syracuse, beat Syracuse, and now is back in Syracuse. So there's this connection to Central New York and whatnot with Dayton, and there's this fact that Dayton is that team that's, if they don't get in the tournament, they're usually close. So just what that means to you to know that you're going on a team that needs just a little bit more of a push to get into the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they've been on the brink for a long time. They've been in and out. But it'd be crazy to play in the NCAA tournament, and I feel like we can make it and make a run. It's gonna be a really fun year this year. So I'm just hoping that everything works out and we just handle our business.
And Frankie, you said that it's going to be a pretty young team with the Dayton Flyers. What have they told you about playing? I mean, obviously you got to go to practice, you got to go to work, you got to compete and do what you need to do, and that's all in front of you. But have they given you the notion that if you do what you need to do in practice, that there is an opportunity for you to play right away?
Yeah, they told me, there's going to be an opportunity, but I have to work for it, and nothing is going to be guaranteed. I can't just come in there and think that I'm going to play because I won't. It's a really talented team, so I have to work every single day in practice and just try to get better. So when the time does come, that I'll be ready to get in the game.
Speaking here with Frankie Policelli, 2018-19, heading off to Dayton. What did it for you with Dayton? What was so special about Dayton that out of this long list of teams that wanted you to play for them, that Dayton was the ultimate right fit for you? Bring me into the decision-making process and what ultimately led you there.
It was like a family atmosphere when I got to campus. I was extremely comfortable with the coaching staff and the players. The campus was really, really cool. Like the setup was nice. I like the setup. It was just like a family atmosphere, and I was really comfortable. And then the basketball standpoint, that speaks for itself. You know, they have a really good tradition, and then the academic part was also a huge factor in my commitment.
And academically, do you know what you want to study?
I was thinking about like physical therapy or something along those lines. Maybe communications or broadcasting. So like maybe that could be like a color analysis or something. I just want to stay around the game for as long as possible. You know?
No, I definitely hear that. And, you know, I also hear that there's this company, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, that has this show, Wake Up Call, that you may be on right now. And, you know, they do internships and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know if you – I mean, I could put in a good word to Dan if you want me to.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
And Frankie, before I let you go here, two quick things. One of them, we want to get you on rapid fire here for a second. But the other part of it is, you know, just what you can say about finally realizing this moment. I mean, you and I spoke about this moment for the last few years, and we are where we are right now. So it's tangible, it's real, it's going to happen. You're going to be on campus soon. Just what you could tell me about making the decision, knowing that it's over, and now being in this reality.
Yeah, it was a long process. It was like 2.5 years, 3 years, or however long it was. But I just feel really relieved and happy that I've like committed to Dayton. You know, I felt like it was a perfect fit. You know, just going through the process was fun. But like towards the end, I was like, you know, I gotta end it. So I committed to Dayton. I'm extremely happy I did.
And having that commitment moving forward, you're going to be at Dayton, Ohio, and Dave Chappelle is in that area region. So if you bump into Dave Chappelle, will you and can you keep him wherever he is at long enough for me to get on a flight is all I need to know.
I could try.
And Frankie, we're going to... What'd you say?
I said I'll work my magic.
All right, fair enough. Now, Frankie, rapid fire here, and I feel like we've done this before a little bit, but I want to jump into this. It's a special segment I've done for years on the broadcast. I'm going to throw a bunch of questions at you. Could have to do with basketball, but sparingly. Could be about anything. And then what I'm going to do that I don't think I did last time is I'm going to let you turn and flip the script on me, and you get to ask me questions. So we're going to be fair to this by letting you interview me for a second and get those communications and broadcasting skills up to par. Are you ready for that?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
All right, fair enough. So since I think, you know, I threw you on the hot seat a little while ago in the past year, I'm not going to ask you too many. I'm going to give you more of the stage. So I'll ask you three, but I'll let you ask a few more. So my first one to you is on your bucket list, Mr. Frankie Policelli. Give me three things that are must-dos before your life is done. What are three things you need to do?
I need to go to Italy.
Okay.
I need to go to Egypt.
Okay.
And last thing, I don't even know. Maybe skydiving? I don't know.
Well, if skydiving, I want to do that too, and I haven't done it yet, so you need to call me on that one. Italy, you need to call me. Egypt is not that far away from Italy, but I got to ask, why? I know that you got the Italian background, but what is it about Egypt that draws you?
My friend Isam Mustafa, he's from Egypt, and he always talks about it, so I want to go and visit Egypt with him.
All right, fair enough. My second question for you is, if anyone could play you in a movie, tell me the famous person that would play you in a movie.
Will Smith.
Fair enough. Why Will Smith?
Well, a lot of people say that we look alike a little bit, and he's like kind of funny and goofy. I think I'm kind of funny and goofy, so I think it would work out good.
All right, I could feel that. I can understand that. My last question for you is, if I had to go up on stage and tell everybody, you're sitting there in the audience and we're doing an award and you're getting the award, what's the one thing that you would hope that I would say about you and the type of person you are?
That I'm easygoing, I'm caring, and I'm very outgoing.
All right, fair enough. All right, Frankie, I asked you 3. I'm going to let you ask me 5, and I'm going to let you start right now. So you get the majority whenever you're ready. Go ahead.
All right. What's your celebrity crush?
Well, Frankie knows I'm married, so this is always fun. But the funny thing is, my wife there's one person my wife always picks. So, because she, before I met her and whatever. So I will tell you this: there's 2 people. Jennifer Aniston's one of them. The other one is, and this is, I don't know what she looks like now. I haven't really seen her these days. So, but growing up, I had her poster in my in kind of like my man cave, and that was Tyra Banks. So we'll give it to Tyra and Jennifer Aniston. What's your other question?
All right. If you were skydiving and you forgot your parachute, how would you land?
Well, I've always had a connection with angels, and I believe in God. So I would say to God, if I have those wings that I think that I might have, could you let them come out now? I would try and hold on to if I knew when I jumped out of the plane in a split second, I'd try to hold on to the plane like Mission Impossible. And if none of that worked, then I would try to make myself, I guess, just float as evenly as I could. And then I know that if you could kind of direct yourself, if you put yourself in like a pencil fashion. So I'd try and direct my body toward whatever I could find that might be a safer landing than landing straight down on the ground.
Okay.
All right, what else you got? Your questions are so hard, man. This is ridiculous. You got 3 more questions. I already feel like I'm sweating a little bit in the studio. What else you got?
All right. I'll do an easy one.
All right, go ahead.
If Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas all give you a contract, which one would you take?
Oh, man. Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas. You know what? I'm going to say Under Armour because it came after Nike and Adidas, and I think their stuff is really comfortable, and they make Transformers and Marvel superhero Under Armour shirts. So I would have them. I'd have them make me a superhero and make my own Under Armour shirt.
All right.
All right. What else you got?
I feel like we talked about this one before, but LeBron James or Michael Jordan?
I don't like this question because it's so hard. I feel like it's a generational thing. I really do. I feel like, okay, people who are just going to college or about to go to college, like yourself, would say LeBron James most of the time. I feel like people that are in their 30s or, between 30 and 50 might say Michael Jordan. I grew up with Michael Jordan. I watched LeBron James. Michael Jordan had an ego, but LeBron James's ego, dare I say it, I think is more. I think it's worse. When he made the game-winning shot 105-103 against the Raptors in the series this year, and they were interviewing him about the shot and being prepared for it, I didn't hear him name his teammates, I think, maybe once, but probably not in 15 minutes. It was, oh, I did this, and I know how to do this, and I practiced this, and I knew I could get down the court, and I knew I could do this, and I knew I could do that. There was no, this guy set a pick, this guy helped me out, this guy did this, thank God that my team did this so that we could get to a point where we were tied. So I don't like LeBron's ego. And Michael Jordan could fly. So I would say Michael Jordan. I understand when people say LeBron James, but LeBron, I just feel like his ego is just, he's got I don't know how he fits his head in the stadium sometimes. So, is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really hard debate. But right now I'm favoring LeBron James. I think he's better. But I know that's going to be very controversial. So.
It's tough, man. It's tough. I understand when people say LeBron, and I understand when people say Michael Jordan. But it's just, it's so hard. I mean, Michael Jordan, man. That was, there's just something about, but the thing is, too, like, I love Magic Johnson. And, I loved watching Magic Johnson. And so, for me, I think the first time I ever saw Magic Johnson, I walked by my TV growing up as a little kid in our house, and I walked by the TV, and I saw this guy, and he's coming right at you on the screen. And he had the ball in his hands, and then he put it behind his back, and it disappeared. And then the guy behind him ends up, I think he dunked it or laid it in or whatever. And I said, where did that ball go? And it was Magic Johnson. And I was like, that's how he played. He made it look like magic tricks. So I loved watching Magic, and I loved Reggie Miller because nobody could stop Reggie Miller, hardly. And then, Reggie Miller and just the way that he used to taunt Spud Webb, and Spud taunts him, and Gary Payton. You got to think about it this way, Frankie. When Gary Payton played basketball, there was defense.
Yeah.
There's no defense anymore. So it's just, to me, it's tough, man. Eras are tough, but like I said, I understand either or, but I thought Michael Jordan loved himself some Michael Jordan. After I saw LeBron James, I made the statement last Saturday. I made the statement, I said, I don't think anybody loves LeBron James more than LeBron James. So, what's your final question for me?
All right, for next year's NCAA championship, who do you have winning?
Oh my gosh, darn it. You're going to be like my early one, because somebody asked me during this past season, they said, if you had to put your feet to the fire right now, who's going to win the national championship? And I said, there's 351 teams. This was like in January or something. I said, if I have to tell you right now, in this moment, it's going to be Virginia or Villanova. And damn it, I was right about Villanova. And with Virginia, even though they lost, they were the number 1 overall seed. They were the ACC regular season champion and tournament champion. So, to Dan of the past, I was spot on. So, now that I have to back up my Virginia-Villanova thing, because Villanova won, and Virginia was a damn good team before they kind of lost control there, I am now being asked by Mr. Frankie Policelli to make an early push. So, this is tough. It's hard for me to choose Kansas, because I feel like, I know that Kansas is good, but they're overrated. So, this is going to be tough for me. I'm going to say, I'm sitting here, I want to say Villanova, but I know Villanova is changing, so that's a tough part of this. So, let me think here. I'm gonna try and figure this out while see, this is the thing about when you're doing something in the moment, is that, Frankie just put me on the spot. So,
it's hard, right?
It is hard. It's very hard, man. So let me think about it. I'm going to come back at you with this one, though. I'm gonna throw you on the hot seat. So, okay, so Kansas, I know it's tough. I know it's easy for people to say that. I don't know. I got to trust my gut. I guess I would say, if it was up to me right now, I would say Duke or Villanova. I think Duke is due to get deep in the tournament. I think Villanova is relevant again. Jay Wright's been there for a really long time, and he's won 2 out of the last 3 championships. Some people might have forgot that Jay Wright was even coaching still. And, it's really hard for a coach to be relevant than to dip and then to be relevant again. I mean, he's never really been irrelevant in the sense of making the tournament, but, I mean, to be a coach and to not be going to the Final Four in the championship game and then do what he did 2 out of the last 3 years, I mean, Villanova is just, they're ridiculous. And I know Kansas is always high in Kentucky, but I don't buy Kentucky and I don't buy Kansas. Kansas might do some great things, but I guess I would say Duke or Villanova. But because you made me do this way, 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 way too early, I'm going to throw it on you. Who's going to the championship? Who's winning?
I think Dayton's going to make a nice run next year.
You're damn right. I think Dayton's going to make a nice run, too. I mean, I think that the Dayton Flyers, you guys got an opportunity. And like I said, it's a team on the cusp. So you go in there and you take care of your business. The rest of the guys go in and take care of their business. There's no telling what can happen. I will say this about the Atlantic 10, and that is that it's one of the most exciting conferences. Anybody listening right now, if you don't watch the Atlantic 10, please just oblige me for a game or two and watch the A10. I know there's a lot of Syracuse fans that listen in, so watch it when if Syracuse playing on a Monday, Dayton's playing on Tuesday, then get in front of your seat or get in front of the TV and watch this. Rhode Island, St. Bonnie's. St. Joe's was a team that used to be relevant and could do it again. I mean, Davidson, that's where Steph Curry came from. St. Bonnie's is back, and I think that they're going to be a pain in the butt. Rhode Island has been a pain in the butt. VCU, even without Shaka Smart, has been relevant. George Mason was one of those teams that made it far in the tournament before when they weren't supposed to. St. Louis Billikens have done some good things. The Richmond Spiders beat Syracuse in history when they were a 15 seed. Then you got, teams like UMass, who had Marcus Camby in the past, and of course you have the Dayton Flyers. So I think the A10 is awesome. I think that the competition is awesome, and I think that the Dayton Flyers are trying to get off that runway, and I'm thinking that Frankie Policelli is going to help them do that.
I appreciate it.
So you got to make sure that you go to work. But, as always, and I know that you will, but as always, Frankie, I appreciate everything. And my one final note, since we didn't mention it, Jay David, New York Jayhawks, I know that you are part of the AAU team. You told me off the air you'll always be a part of it, by helping out, and you just helped out recently. Just what you could say about Jay David and about the New York Jayhawks AAU team.
Yeah, he's taking good care of me. He's a great guy. He's helped me a lot throughout this process. He's taught me a lot. As for the Jayhawks, I've learned so much from all the coaches in the program, and all the teammates that I've had in the program. We're all like brothers. Like we all text each other every single day, call each other, FaceTime, whatever it is, and like that's not gonna change. And all the new kids that came in this year, we're still just as close.
And Frankie, sometimes AAUs get a bad rap for saying that they don't guide players in the right direction. Why is the New York Jayhawks AAU team different?
Because we bring in guys that want to get better and that have high character. Because Coach Jay's thing is like high character, good academics, and then basketball is third on the list. So, we bring in guys that want to get better on and off the court, and that will, carry themselves in a proper manner.
Ladies and gentlemen, Frankie Policelli, Dayton Flyers, 2018-19, and somebody who I'm very proud of for all the work that he's put forward. Frankie, as always, I appreciate it. I know that you and I are going to keep in touch as we always do, but thank you for being a part of the show today, and say hi to the family and the other two of the triplet crew.
I will. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Be good. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
This is a wake-up call, Fast Break.
Hi, this is Kira from Looking Glass Events, where we're always giving you a reason to celebrate. Whether you have a small business, large business, personal event, or wedding, we are available to plan and coordinate your dream event to life. Every detail, every step, Looking Glass Events is working with you all the way. Call us at 315 315-702-4653. That's 315-702-4653. Or contact us through our website, lgweddingsandevents.com. Looking Glass Events, giving you a reason to celebrate.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Proud to have you here on the broadcast every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and greatly appreciate you being a part of the show. However you're a part of the show, be it inside of Twitter at CallDT, Facebook at WakeUpCallDT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT, as well as, of course, every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time live here on mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.com, where you can get the show archive of over 960 broadcasts on the RSS feed, the iTunes store, as well as the app powered by Podbean. So make sure that you're tuning in. Big thanks to Frankie Policelli for being a part of the show, and congratulations to the Dayton Flyers for snagging this one and getting an opportunity to have Frankie Policelli wear red. Dayton, Washington, Iona, Stony Brook, VCU, Hofstra, Manhattan, Towson, St. Bonaventure, Rhode Island, UMass, St. Joe's, Rutgers, Old Dominion, Tulane, George Washington, Fordham, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Illinois, and Maryland all said, Frankie Policelli, here's an offer. And he said yes to the Dayton Flyers, which is absolutely amazing. They average about 13,000 people per game. They are doing a renovation of the University of Dayton Arena, which I had been to for the first four and watched Syracuse play there as well as St. Bonnie's and whatnot. And I'm very excited about what this is going to turn into for Frankie Policelli. They're looking at him to play a stretch four or small forward, and they play three guards. So they're looking at him being a stretch four, or like I said, a small forward on the team. Currently weighing between 205 and 210 as he looked to put on some muscle and some weight as he got taller, faster, stronger, and getting ready for the Dayton Flyers coming up in the 2018-19 season. So awesome and amazing moment for him, and much appreciation to Frankie Policelli for being a part of this broadcast. I want to thank him for that. So with that being said, let's move on here and finish off today's broadcast with a few minutes left to go here on Wednesday, May 16th. I want to let everybody know that coming up less than a week from today, Tuesday, May 22nd, we're going to be doing something new and innovative, something we haven't done before with our live broadcasts on site. So for those of you that know us at the Wildcat Sports Pub, we go out to Camillus, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, right in the Home Depot Plaza, to the Wildcat Sports Pub. And we do a monthly show there every single month there with you, and we do a lot with West Genesee. We've had their football team come out and do an event with us. Along with the football team, we have also had the the boys basketball team, the girls basketball team come out and do events with us as well. We've had men's ice hockey there, and of course we've had boys lacrosse. So we want to thank them all for being a part of that. We'll have a show coming up at the Wildcat later on this month that we're very excited about. And then across town at Chick-fil-A Cicero, we feature CNS, Cicero North Syracuse North Stars, and we have currently featured the girls lacrosse team and the boys lacrosse team. This month we're doing something different, and instead of having a single team there, there. We're doing a special showcase event at Chick-fil-A Cicero this coming Tuesday, May 22nd, starting at 6 p.m. It's called Remarkable Athletes Senior Spotlight, and it will feature Amani Free from girls basketball at CNS, Eric Pride from football at CNS, Jessica Manili from girls lacrosse, and Lucas Merluzzi from football and basketball, who will be joining us at CNS at Chick-fil-A Cicero, as I jump over myself twice, at Chick-fil-A Cicero for a special Cicero North Syracuse event. So every single month at the Wildcat, we have the West Genesee teams. We have a rotation of different teams that come in and different representation and whatnot. And then across town in Cicero, New York, every single month with Chick-fil-A Cicero, we feature the Cicero North Syracuse North Stars, and I'm really excited to have Amani, Eric, Jessica, and Lucas be a part of this. I've known Amani Free since she was a little kid playing the sport, probably half her height or less than half her height when I first met her, and I can't wait for this opportunity for the Remarkable Athletes Senior Spotlight live broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from Chick-fil-A Cicero this Tuesday, May 22nd, beginning at 6 p.m., so come and see us on 7916 Brewerton Road, right in front of the Home Depot. See us there at Chick-fil-A Cicero, the only Chick-fil-A in upstate New York. Come hang out with us at Chick-fil-A Cicero Tuesday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. for a Remarkable Athlete Senior Spotlight with Amani, Eric, Jessica, and Lucas, representing girls basketball, boys basketball, football, and girls lacrosse, all in one single CNS event where we're spotlighting them at Chick-fil-A Cicero. So we look forward to seeing you there this coming Tuesday, May 22nd at 6 p.m. With that being said, as we look through what's going on in the rest of the sports world, I want to get you ready for tomorrow as well, our new Thursday segment and what we have going on. This will be our third installment of it, and we love doing this broadcast. It's with Katie Policelli. She spent 7 years on Jim Boeheim's staff at Syracuse. She worked with Mike Hopkins, Alan Griffin, Kip Wellman, Brad Pike, as well as the entire team there, Adrian Autry, Jerry McNamara, so on and so forth, and worked with players like Dion Waiters to Rakeem Christmas to Trevor Cooney. She's also worked out Brianna Stewart, who is from CNS and has moved on to UConn and then moved on from there to the WNBA in Seattle and whatnot. So she's worked out with her and, of course, a bunch of the Syracuse women's basketball players that were coached by Quentin Hillsman. So she's done a lot of work and has amazing stories. She's going to tell some of her stories and we're going to have a great time, as we always do, with Katie Policelli in a new segment that we started just a couple weeks ago on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora exclusively every Thursday, called Coaching with Class, featuring Katie Policelli. So she's going to be joining me in a little bit. We're going to speak on Becky Hammon, too, the opportunity to have the first female-led NBA team, first female head coach in the NBA, and what that can mean, and the talent of Becky Hammon that goes beyond that, because I'm like Dave Baziak. I don't want to be like, oh, hire her because she's a woman, or hire this because of this. I don't want to do that. I want to say everybody deserves an equal opportunity, but if I'm Becky Hammon, I don't want a team to hire me because it'll be a lightning rod, because it'll be good ratings, because it'll get the media there. I want somebody to hire, or because I'm a woman, or because I'm this, that, and the other. If I'm Becky Hammon, I want to be hired because my work precedes me, and what I've done in my career was good enough to give me a chance. That's what I want. So you want equal opportunity as one side of the coin. The other side of it is you don't want to get the job just because you're a woman, just because it would be good ratings, just because it would help out the team to get the media there. So we're going to speak on Becky Hammon and so much more tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time in Coaching with Class with Katie Policelli, a signature segment that was just added to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And we will also get into Through the Looking Glass at 10:50 a.m. Eastern Time to round out the show, where we take a deeper look at a trending topic, proudly brought to you by Looking Glass Events, your event planning business in Central and Upstate New York. If you have an event, no matter how big or how small it is, or what you're planning on doing, anniversary, birthday party, sports banquet, whatever it may be, you know who to call. 315-702-4653. That's 315-702-4653 to Kara Wasserback, and the team at Looking Glass Events. So make sure that you call them for your event planning needs. So we'll have that segment on the show. 2 signature segments on Thursday's broadcast. And inevitably we'll talk some Golden State Warriors, Houston Rockets. And we'll get into the NFL a little bit as well. Because, I like to stick around with the NFL. And there's always something in fantasy football that never ends. And there's always something when it comes to the NFL in general. Des Bryant appreciated the Ravens' offer, but does not regret the offer. So I want to take a look at what he had to say, turning down the offer, I should say. Des Bryant, let's see what he has here in his thoughts here. He said, nope, not one bit, and very appreciative for the offer. What's crazy is how reports like this will try to tarnish someone's character. The slight jab saying it's not easy to get along with. I thought the media would give up by now with betraying me as something that I'm not. Well, I can tell you this, Des. There will always be people in the media that will betray you. There will always be people in the media that will lie to you. But I can also promise you that if you ever want to come on this show, I'm not one of those people. And you have more than enough of an opportunity to state your case, to tell your story, and to let us know what your true reaction has been to things, what truly happened in Dallas, what truly unfolded, and why you said no to Baltimore, as opposed to how people have twisted and moved your words around. We don't do that on the show. Frankie Policelli, what you see is what you get. No twisting, no nothing. Anybody that's been on the broadcast, Dave Paziak, we don't twist words, we don't edit the show and flip words around and this, that, and the other thing. We play it like it is, and we continue to play it like it is, because without hearing things the real way, what other way is there? So what my confusion is that Des Bryant still does not have a job. That is my confusion. From number 1 to nothing makes absolutely no sense. I could find space for Des Bryant on my team. So I don't know how nobody has done that up to this point, find a spot for Des Bryant. So let's find one. Let's make it happen. We'll talk about some more NFL coming up in tomorrow's broadcast. Join us back here Thursday, May 17th. Live, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on mixlr.com/wakeupcall.dt. You can pick it all up on wakeupcalldt.com on the homepage, as well as the RSS feed, the iTunes Store, and the app powered by Podbean, where we have over 102,000 show downloads and more. That's just a small fraction of the amount of plays that we have on the broadcast. So if you're thinking over 100,000 downloads, that doesn't even scratch the surface of the plays that we have potentially gotten over the years. Somewhere between, I think it's fair to say, 300 to 350,000 plays that we have gotten to this. So make sure that you're going, downloading, and keeping that wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. You can pick it up right on the homepage of wakeupcalldt.com by clicking on Podbean. Don't miss a moment of all these shows that we have and that we keep for you and share with you. So make sure that you connect with the show as often as you possibly can. And thank you for doing it live every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time right here on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Have a great day. God bless you. And I can't wait to talk with you soon. Thank you so much to Chick-fil-A Cicero for our upcoming event. We can't wait to share that with you.